Good morning, students. In this lecture, we will talk about allergic rhinitis. We have already talked about different types of acute and chronic rhinitis previously. This lecture will give you idea about the pathophysiology, clinical features, clinical signs, investigation in need of allergic rhinitis, and treatment part of a patient with allergic rhinitis. Allergic rhinitis is an acute rhinitis which is IgE mediated immunological response of nasal mucosa and nasal cavity to airborne allergen to a particular patient. It is characterized by watery nasal discharge, nasal obstruction, sneezing and itching. So, whenever patient has a allergic reaction to a particular airborne allergen which goes into the nasal cavity and attached to the nasal mucosa, it will develop IgE mediated immunological allergic response. This allergic response will cause watery nasal discharge, nasal obstruction, sneezing and itching. So these all are symptoms of allergic rhinitis. It is also associated with itching of eyes, palate and pharynx. Usually there are two types of allergic rhinitis, seasonal and perennial. Seasonal allergic rhinitis is usually particularly present in a particular season like in winter or in summer or in monsoon. But perennial allergic rhinitis is usually present for 12 months of the entire year. Etiology. Main etiology is inhalant allergen which goes into the nasal cavity and attached to the nasal mucosa which initiate the allergic response. Main allergens are pollens from trees and grass, mold spores, house dust, debris from insects and house mite, food allergy, allergy to pet. There is some genetic predisposition is also available in this type of patient. So whenever a patient's parents, one or both parents has symptoms of allergic rhinitis, the children are also prone to develop allergic rhinitis in their lifespan. This is the structure of IgE antibody. This is the Fab end and this is the Fc end. Antigen is attached to this Fab end over here. This antibody are attached to the mast cells from Fc end. So mast cells are attached here. Here there will be antibody. We will see in the next slide. Here in this diagram you can see the IgE antibody is attached to these mast cells, and whenever this antigen attached to the IgE antibody attached to the mast cell, it will cause the allergic reaction and degranulation of the mast cell. Here in this diagram you can see that there are different formation of granules in the mast cells. These granules usually cause the secretion of different types of allergic response whenever there is antigen binding of IgE up over the mast cell receptors. The different mediators of allergic reaction are divided into two parts: preform mediator which are already present in mast cells, and other are newly synthesized whenever there is attachment of antigen attached IgE antibody over the mast cell receptor. Preform mediators are histamine, eosinophil chemotactic factor A, neutrophil chemotactic factor A and heparin. Histamine cause vasodilatation and bronchospasm. ECFA mediator will attract the eosinophils at the site of reaction. NCFA mediator will attract the neutrophils at the site of the reaction, and heparin will enhance the phagocytosis. Newly synthesized mediators are prostaglandin, leukotriene, PAF, thromboxane A and tumor necrosis factor alpha. Prostaglandin are usually vasoactive and bronchospastic. So this patient can also develop allergic bronchitis and allergic asthma also. because this mediator will also cause the bronchospasm. So patient can have difficulty in breathing due to the allergic reaction. So that will be known as allergic bronchitis or allergic asthma. Leukotriene are vasoactive and bronchospastic. PAF factor will cause chemotaxis of neutrophil and eosinophils at the site of the reaction or over the nasal mucosa. Thromboxane A are spasmogenic, and tumor necrosis factor alpha helps in transmigration of the neutrophil and eosinophils. Usually allergic response is divided into two parts: acute or early phase of reaction, which occurs immediately within the 5 to 30 minutes, half hour of the exposure to the allergen. It is due to the release of the histamine, which are preformed in the mast cells. It causes sneezing, rhinorrhea, that is the nasal discharge, and cause the nasal blockage. Late or delayed phase occurs after the 2 to 8 hours after the exposure to allergen. It is without the exposure to the additional allergen, and it is mainly because of the eosinophil, neutrophil, basophils and monocytin CD4 T cells, which are attracted over the site of reaction by this different type of factor, which attract the neutrophil and eosinophils. So this neutrophil, eosinophil and different types of cells will mitigate the late or delayed phase of the allergic reaction, and it causes swelling over the nasal mucosa, congestion over the nasal mucosa and thick secretion. Usually no age or sex predilection is found in case of allergic rhinitis. It can also occur in infant and can also occur in old age of patient. It is more The main symptoms of seasonal allergy are paroxysmal sneezing, in which patient will have about 10 to 20 and sometimes more than 20 sneezing episodes single at a time suddenly, and that is also associated with nasal obstruction and simple watery nasal discharge with itching in the nose. There will be itching also in the eyes, palate and pharynx. Symptoms of perennial allergy, which is usually around the ear, are not so severe and include frequent colds, stuffy nose, anosmia, post-nasal discharge, chronic cough and hearing impairment. So in perennial allergic, there will be many episodes of an acute rhinitis in chronic period. So patient will say that he or she has continuous nasal obstruction or nasal blockage all over the ear. So that is known as stuffy nose and frequent colds. Patient can have anosmia due to the excessive edema in the nasal cavity mucosa. Patient can develop post-nasal discharge, and patient will say that he or she has something trickling from the nasal cavity into the oropharynx. Chronic cough can be the sign of allergic rhinitis with allergic pharyngitis, and hearing impairment can occur due to the eustachian tube involvement. Some of the clinical signs in the nasal cavity are Darier's line, also known as allergic salute, and other signs are pale and edematous mucosa, swollen turbinates, thin and watery mucoid discharge. So whenever we examine a patient with allergic rhinitis, patient's nasal mucosa is usually pale pink color and it is edematous. Sometimes it can be pink also. Usually inferior turbinate are more commonly involved, and there is hypertrophy of inferior turbinate on both sides. This inferior turbinate sometimes also help in production of nasal obstruction. Thin and watery mucoid discharge can be seen in the nasal cavity. This type of patient usually do the constant upward rubbing of the nose, more commonly seen in children, and it will form a black line across the dorsum of the nose over the middle part, and that is known as Darier's line. that is also known as allergic salute. So this is the classical external sign over the nasal cavity by which we can identify a patient of allergic rhinitis. Here in this constant upward rubbing of the nose over the columella will form a blackish line over the dorsum of the nose over here on the external part of the nose. So that is known as Darius line or allergic salute. Ocular signs are edema of lids, congestion and cobblestone appearance of the conjunctiva, dark circles around and under the eyes, also known as allergic sinners. Otologic signs are retracted TM due to the eustachian tube obstruction and formation of negative pressure in middle ear, and this can give rise to the serous otitis media or otitis media with effusion. Allergic sinus will have dark circles under the eyes, edema of the lips and cobblestone appearance or redness of the conjunctiva. Pharyngeal signs are granular pharyngitis due to the hyperplasia of the submucosal lymphoid tissue, and patient can have chronic cough due to this granular pharyngitis and irritation in the throat. Whenever patient will have a excessive nasal obstruction, especially in children, patient can develop mouth breathing, and that can give rise to the orthodontic problem or malformation of the ear, malformation of the dentition. Laryngeal signs are hoarseness of voice and edema of the vocal cords. Complications are recurrent sinusitis, nasal polypi, serous otitis media due to the eustachian tube obstruction, orthodontic problem more commonly in children, and usually bronchial asthma is usually present in a patients of allergic rhinitis. Management is diagnosis is mainly clinical with explanation of the patient about the detailed history of clinical features and examination of the clinical signs, nasal endoscopy finding. Investigation are which can help in diagnosis of allergic rhinitis are CBC, that is complete blood count. In we can see peripheral eosinophilia. Nasal smears can show large number of eosinophils over the local site. Allergic tests are different types, mainly skin tests are present and blood tests are present. Radioallergosorbent test, that is RAST, measures the specific IgE antibody concentration in the serum. Prick test, in which there will be small amount of allergen will be inserted in the skin of the patient intradermally by prick, scratch and intradermal injection method, and there will be some allergic reaction. That allergic reactions measurement will be done, and according to the exact criteria or the control, patient is allergic to a particular agent is or not will be noted, and that on that report patient can be given different types of treatment. Nasal provocative test, in which patient is asked to sniff small amount of different type of allergen, and observation is done whether that patient develops any nasal cavity problem or allergic rhinitis clinical features or not. Treatment is main treatment of allergic rhinitis is avoidance of allergen, treatment with drugs and immunotherapy. Avoidance of allergen is most successful if antigen is involved is single. Means if a patient has a particular antigen problem in the nasal cavity, we can remove that antigen from patient's body, or we can do such measures so that that antigen will not go into the patient's nasal cavity, and patient's symptom will improve day by day. Example that we can go for removal of pet if allergic to pet is present, encasing the pillow with plastic sheet or mattress if a house dust is present, Change of place of work if a particular agent is present in a particular place of occupation work. Change in job timing. Removal of particular food from menu. Treatment with drugs. There are some drugs like antihistaminic, sympathomimetic drugs, corticosteroid, and sodium chromoglycate which can help in improvement of clinical features of allergic rhinitis. Antihistaminic will control the rhinorrhea, sneezing, and pruritus, but it can cause the drowsiness as adverse drug reaction. Sympathomimetic drugs are used as oxymetazoline or xylometazoline or pseudoephedrine. They usually constrict the blood vessels and decrease the congestion and edema. Pseudoephedrine is used and topically oxymetazoline and xylometazoline preparations are available in market. They are available as adult preparation and pediatric preparation, but their repeated use can cause the rebound congestion in the nasal cavity, and that is known as rhinitis medicamentosa. Corticosteroid can be used as orally or topically. It means directly in nasal cavity as spray or drops. Topical corticosteroids have more advantage as they are avoid of systemic adverse drug reaction of corticosteroid, oral steroid. Topical corticosteroid use are beclomethasone, budesonide, fluticasone, mometasone. They inhibit the recruitment of the inflammatory cells like eosinophils, neutrophils, and they avoid the late phase rhinitis. It can also be used rhinitic medicaments also. Sometimes this spray can cause the dryness in the nose, and excessive use of this type of spray can sometimes develop septal perforation. Sodium chromoglycate usually stabilizes the mast cells and prevent the degranulation. It is used as 2% solution as spray or drops. Third one is immunotherapy. It is also known as hyposensitization, in which if a patient has a particular allergic to a particular allergen, that allergen is given gradually in increasing doses till the maintenance dose is reached. It causes the suppression of the formation of IgE antibody in the body. It raises the titer of the specific IgG antibody against that allergen. It should be given for a year, or sometimes it can be last up to 4 years or 5 years. It is in this immunotherapy treatment is interrupted if no clinical improvement is found for consecutive 3-year treatment. So in immunotherapy or hyposensitization, patient should be given allergen in his body as an intradermal injection or sublingual allergen, which are markedly prepared available in a raising titer manner. So we will give first of 1 gram, then we will give 2 gram. If patient develop allergic reaction with 1 gram, then we will give less titer of allergen. This continuous increasing dose will develop specific IgG antibody against that particular allergen, and patient will not develop allergic reaction gradually over the 1 gram, 2 gram or 3 gram. So this type of hyposensitization of patient's body's reaction to over a particular allergen will be done in immunotherapy. This treatment usually lasts for 4 to 5 years, and patient's compliance is really needed, and patient should be explained thoroughly about the adverse reaction of a adverse allergic reaction of a particular allergen and other complication, and we should explain about the immunotherapy particularly to a patient before starting it. So this type of different treatments are available in allergic rhinitis. Thank you.